And basically what happened was I realized there's just so much power in this freedom triangle. How am I going to get it to people who don't read books or who don't get to the end of the book? Like I really, really believe in this freedom triangle. I want to get it out there to the masses. And that's when I realized, okay, you need a product. You need a physical product. It's going to be for men and for women, something that could eventually be available worldwide. And it's got to be powerful, luxurious, it's got to be something desirable and beautiful. And that's where I came up with the idea of triangle fragrance inspired by Freedom Triangle.
Magda Khalifa, how are you doing?
Hi, Josh. Great to see you. Great to be here.
Excellent. I got the pleasure of meeting you, and there's very few people I instantly call a friend because I'm that guy. But I think we automatically hit it off. I don't know. It might have been like some of the dates I've had where I thought we did great. They're like, yeah, no, no, not at all. But we got along. Um, uh, and so I really wanted to have you on my show because, well, you dabbled in a lot of things, and everything you did seemed to be about helping people, which I appreciated. Could you kind of let's start with your book real quick? Could you tell me about your book? And I'll make sure that I put a copy up here so everybody can see it and all the links and stuff. But tell me exactly what got you to even get to the point of writing a book.
Yeah, so I think we all go through a turning point in our lives as adults, usually, at some point, right? And mine occurred when September 11th happened. I was up in the New York City area, saw all that, and had to do something, so I joined the military. So that changed my life. That changed the trajectory of my life.
Yeah.
So, okay, I went to war, served a couple tours in Iraq. I wanted to do that. What I wasn't prepared for, I never saw coming, how hard it would be, was the transition back to being a civilian after you've been, a warrior for so long. So it was about a 10-year struggle, if you will, to adjust my life accordingly, and never knowing if I would ever reach that point. And I did. So once I did, part of the way I was able to was surrounding myself with the right people. And it was brought to my attention that I had some value to share with others. And it was my duty to share this with others. So that is why I wrote the book. So I wrote the book, part history, but really it's a self help book to show people how you can basically take control of your life, turn it around. So that was the whole, the genesis of the book. While many people write books, you go through a cathartic process that may introduce new things that you weren't even planning. And I codified this freedom triangle right up here in the book, and yeah, that was introduced in there. Didn't start writing the book with that in mind, and that's what came out by the time I finished the book. So pretty powerful, and that's the
Awesome.
self-help framework.
Is it uh, just written for veterans that are struggling with PTSD or anything like that, or is
No,
it is
no,
it
it's not written for veterans. It's written for anybody that is in a place in their life that they want to get control of their life. They want to change, and I address it up front. Whether you're a man, woman, it doesn't matter your age. When you're reading the book, you want to be in that place where you could receive the lessons that are in there. And then if not, you could always put it down, come back to it later. Because we all go through different phases in life. But so it doesn't matter who the person is. But what does matter, in order for them to get the most value out of the book, they have to be open minded enough, and growth minded, really growth minded enough. Otherwise, it's just going to be a story to them. They're not necessarily going to get the full value out of it. I didn't write it for veterans specifically, although obviously the being a military veteran was a portion of my story.
yeah,
So in doing that, I had to write it from a standpoint that was understandable to, obviously, to people who, the majority of the people who read it are not going to be veterans. Veterans are,
yeah,
a small population in the States or worldwide, right? So that was part of the challenge I had, not to get too technical, too deep into the woods, into the weeds with, nomenclature and
Yeah.
even in too deep, to really show more of the human aspect than the technical aspect. I think that, or I believed at that time, and and I still do today, that was more important than getting, you know, too deep into like, hey, this is the type of weaponry we were using and
Yeah.
so on and so forth. I wanted it to translate well. So that's how I wrote it, because I didn't know who is my audience, and I knew just broadly, just generally speaking, they had to be somebody that was, wanted to change and were willing to listen to a stranger who had, a unique story that I was sharing, and so, I always tell folks, you don't have to be a veteran to, get the value from this. In fact, it's probably even better if you're not a veteran because you're looking at it without that lens of having been a veteran. You could
Yeah.
probably extract more things because you're not comparing it directly to your story. Because the beauty about this freedom triangle is that it can be applied across the board, no matter what you're, say if you went through trauma or if you just
Yeah.
want to improve, you want something better and more out of life, or you just want to have better control of your life. So it's very general purpose in that sense. But I believe that those that are growth minded are going to get more out of it.
Would you mind? I mean, if you don't, if you'd rather people just read the book, kind of explain the Freedom Triangle a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, no, I'm happy to. It's 3 points: time freedom, health freedom, and mind freedom. Mind freedom being the pinnacle, and that's what we all strive to achieve. So, time freedom, basically, you have to have the time to address the problems in your life and to overcome the obstacles so that you're free to move forth in the direction you want to go. That's it in a nutshell. Okay, but there are many decisions that have to be made by yourself to enact that because we're all full of excuses. So I explained how I was able to do that in my life and how others can do it with their lives. Health freedom, it's two parts. One, you want to remove that which is holding you back from being optimal in your well-being, right? So that you're not basically beholden to any kind of, say, for instance, substance or some sort of control by something that's unnatural in your life. Because
Just so
once you
everybody
have,
knows, that was your
Mhm.
dog. So
Yes,
I didn't want people to get thrown up. Well, like, what the crap is
my
that?
my stomach's grumbling now. Okay,
Yeah, yeah, I haven't eaten. You know,
that's funny.
but
uh,
sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, no, I apologize about that. He's yeah, that was pretty funny. So you want to be able to remove those things that are affecting your health and your ability to think clearly. And there's a
Yeah,
lot out there that affects that. A lot. And I'm not just talking about drugs and alcohol. There's a lot more out there too. So those are choices that you make. The second part is optimizing that health component, doing things to be able to set yourself up for maximum success, to optimize this opportunity to grow and to literally become the best version of yourself. Okay. So that's health freedom. So while you're working on both of those, probably concurrently, right, you're striving to get to the point of mind freedom, which is the pinnacle. And that is when you have true control of your life. Okay. You find inner peace and personal freedom
yeah.
from that which held you back. And it's powerful, it's beautiful. And when I got to that point, I mean, it was indescribable, but I did my best to try to describe what that was like. And in life, so I'm maybe getting a little further ahead, but when I hit publish on that book, I had no idea 2 months later I would be doing the next chapter.
Yeah.
Um, so I was truly at that point where I was able to essentially receive that, message that I needed to go in that direction. Never saw it coming. And that's the beauty about it. I was searching, I was truly open. Like you cannot fake it. This is
Yeah.
something, it's a framework that people go through and, how badly do you want it? And the beauty is if you really want it, you can get there. It may not be overnight. It's going to take a little bit of time, a lot of reconciliation within yourself. And that's powerful. And, I also discussed, it's fine to go see someone, a professional, and get help that way too. Sure, that's fine. But when you solve things innately for yourself, it is so powerful. No one can
Yeah.
ever take that away from you. And it's unspoken. It's just part of who you are. And that's the space I've been operating in since I wrote this, since the writing of this. And, just living the next chapter, if you will. And it's a whole different level for sure.
What I appreciate about that is, well, lots of things, but is the simplicity.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't understand in the military, you have to be trained to your leaders, they know that they're talking to a ginormous amount of different people with different understandings, different backgrounds, and they have to explain things where everybody understands it. And that's why a lot of military people, most of my friends are veterans. And it, what I like is they keep it simple and
Mhm.
it's easy to understand instead of all this jargon that
Right.
you put too much information out there. And look in today's society, we're in the Google world where everybody can Google stuff. We have so much information out there, we have a bunch of idiots.
Mhm.
Nobody knows how to focus their brain to understand something. But that was really simple, not simple as in
Mhm.
like uneducated or
Mhm.
unlearned simple, but simple as in like a I think it was
Easy,
Einstein that
easy
said
to
it.
comprehend. Hopefully, easy to comprehend.
Yeah,
You do
yeah,
this step, and you're ultimately trying to get to this step. And once you get to this step, this is what happens. Pretty
yeah,
simple. You know.
yeah. Einstein said it. He said if you can't teach something where an 8-year-old can understand it, then you can't call
Mhm.
yourself an expert.
Yeah.
And it's because it's that simplicity. It's making something simple where people can understand it.
Mhm.
And if you wrote a self help book, I've read a lot of self help books because I agree with you. I'm not against therapists and psychologists and shrinks and stuff, but as a lot of people know, I have PTSD, and I found when I go to them, they just annoy the piss out of me. They're just, it's like, do you really care? You're always thinking this back in their mind. If they even, you're just a number to them. They'd act like they care, but you're just a number. But when you do it yourself, when you get yourself through something, there's a lot more power to that. You need that power. You build off that power, that foundation, instead of like, oh yeah, my therapist said this, and
Right.
I need to start becoming, I've got a gluten allergy. I mean, and I'm not saying people don't have gluten allergies, but but that's the thing, is that having somebody else tell you something,
Well, it's
good
funny. I,
stuff.
I do have a gluten allergy, but
I
I
do
never
too.
went to go get diagnosed. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? I knew
yeah,
this when I was eating X, Y, and Z. I felt like, you know, crap. And then when I
yeah,
removed that from my intake, all of a sudden I felt great. So it didn't take going to see someone else to figure that out. And that's the thing about
yeah.
life. You should be able to use that critical thinking skill and ability that we have within ourselves to figure things out and not be dependent on others to try to, no one's going to solve your problems, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and I'm not knocking going to get help. I mean, help can be great. Help can be, the difference between, a lot of polarizing sides
It
of,
can be the difference between life and death. So I agree with you.
it
There
can.
is a time when, yes, get help.
Mhm. But the thing is, we have this power. Like we're top of the food chain, as a species. And lately, I do wonder about that. But right. So, but we have these gifts that we're all, born with, and
Yeah,
we're not necessarily trained to use them. And part of that, I mean, there's so many reasons for that, right? Breakdown of the family, at least here in America, introduction of technology that, people are born with iPhones in their hands, right? So,
yeah,
like, there are all these other forces working against that, good versus evil, right? So, that's okay though. Like, hey, this is the message. You can take control of your life. You don't need, a fortune to do this. You just have the will to be able to do it. And then these are some simple steps that can serve as a framework to guide people to get there.
nice. And you haven't actually said the name of your book yet. You want
Yes.
to say that?
Yes, it's called American Dream. And DREAM is an acronym. So the D in DREAM stands for discipline. The R stands for resilience, the E for endurance, the A for adaptability, and the M for mentorship. So the full
Nice.
title is American Dream to Succeed and Win in Life.
Yeah.
So that's the whole thing. You know, people think, oh, succeed, you mean business. No, 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 no. To succeed and win in life, meaning take control of your life, okay, through this freedom triangle. But of course, the story gives the background, shows people. I was an ordinary person, like most people are, put in what we would consider an extraordinary circumstance. Okay, I put myself there, but hey,
Yeah.
okay, but was able to get through that without a guidebook. I came
Yeah.
back from my last tour in Iraq in 2007. And at that time, there was no like, hey, I went before you. This is what you can expect. This is what you need to be doing, at that time. Now, here we are in 2023, there are more resources, and a lot of
Yeah.
the resources are fellow veterans of my generation as well who are doing great things, either individually or through nonprofits, or speaking about their stories too, and showing, hey, been there, been in your boots, been there, done
Yeah.
that. There's a way forth. Um, and of course the parallels between law enforcement and military communities, and then you can also throw in like medical communities and
Yeah.
other types of work and careers where you're doing something other than a 9 to 5 behind a desk type job, right? But the
Yeah.
lessons here can be applied across the board to any individual who has been through either something traumatic or something so great that tested them, that maybe good or bad, but let's say it's on the bad side, and they want to emerge from that stronger, better, right? They're tired of how things are, how they feel about themselves.
The difference between a victim and a victor is
Mhm.
mentality.
Yeah.
I believe 100%. It's your mentality.
Mhm.
You can either learn to grow or learn to suffer because of what you went through.
Yeah.
And
100%.
unfortunately, a lot of people it's hard. It's difficult. I mean,
Mhm.
and they are taught nowadays. I was just watching a you watch cartoons when you have a little one, and she was watching that show Bluey, which actually comes out of Australia, I believe. And they're playing this game that the it's a dogs, and like a cartoon dogs. I mean, obviously it'd be weird if they're real dogs, but they're playing this birthday game that's called Pass the Parcel. And what they do is they wrap up gifts, wrap up this gift the original way, and they're like, hey, I want to play it like in the '80s, where it was like they pass it around and stop the music. They have music playing. They stop the music on one kid. He unwraps one layer, and then they play it again and unwraps another layer until you get to the end and you get this big prize, right?
Mhm.
Well, in modern terms, and all these parents were playing it the modern way, every time you unwrap a layer, you get a prize. So everybody gets a turn. And they make sure they stop
Uh,
the game on everybody so everybody wins a prize. And the
hmm.
one parent was like, that's stupid. He said, let's play it like in the '80s. He said, nobody, not everybody wins. And everybody was mad at him for it. The kids,
Oh,
they all
no.
started crying. The parents,
Oh.
well, he did it anyway. And then at the end, this one kid ended up with big prize and he was really happy. Well, then you fast forward, this kid's birthday is playing. His mom says, well, how do you want to play Pass the Parcel? He said, let's play it like uh such and such dad did it, the '80s way. And she's like, let's not. He's like, no, let's do it. I want to play it that way because he won. He wanted to play it again. And then pretty soon you realize that everybody wanted it and ended up playing that way, and they got where they could lose, and they learn how to lose. And that's what is not
Mhm.
being taught
No.
today. You're not taught to lose. You're taught
Mhm.
everybody should win. Everybody should get a chance.
Right. So there's
It
no resilience muscle being built. And,
exactly.
I look back at my life at, 50 years of failing forward,
Yeah.
failing, constantly failing, but still getting up and going, you know,
Yeah.
oh, coming in last, I could think about when I was a kid, last one and, um, on the field, right?
Yeah.
And then in track, and then and so on and so forth. That just life, right? Coming in last and failing, like you're either a winner or a loser. And I was a loser over and over.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's okay because the experience, like I never quit. I never said, hey, I'm going to let this define me. You know, you
Yeah.
just keep moving forward, just keep moving forward and doing more and not being afraid to fail. I mean,
Yeah.
there is no successful person out there that hasn't failed miserably many
Yeah.
times before. You know, you don't like hit a grand slam on day one. And if you do, good luck. I mean, can you imagine being cursed like that? You know, it's a
Yeah.
blessing, but then
Yeah.
trying to, you know,
You win at everything. What's the purpose of life if you're winning at everything?
right, right. You know,
Yeah.
I love the evolution, growing to become a better version of yourself, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
so
That's why on my
satisfying.
shirt, it backwards. Sorry, right there it says Bellator Itinerarium, and that
Mhm.
means the journey of the warrior, because I
Yes.
believe everything is an evolution of
Hmm.
growth, and you're not born into being this perfect warrior.
Yeah.
I mean, I bet you'd seen people, and you might have been that person that when you started basic, you're like, it's you were sucking, you're the last person, not you personally, but you were the last, you weren't winning, but at the end, you weren't that person. You were
Yeah.
strong, and you were proud of it. You
Mhm.
did something. My stepson's father, I actually call him my ex-husband, but my wife's ex-husband is he's actually in Iran right now. He's in the military, and before he left, he tells me, he's like, yeah, Tristan got punched in the face for the first time, and
Mhm.
he's a 12-year-old boy. And I said, good. And he said, yeah, that's what I said. Every boy needs to know what it's like to get punched in the face, because not because they need to get hurt. We're not promoting that or promoting violence, but what you're made of when you get punched. You know how bad it's not.
I'm not a guy, but I went through that at like 9 years old, I think. I wrote it in
Yeah.
the book. Was it nine or 12? I forgot.
Yeah.
9 years old. I think it was nine. I have to look back. It was a long time ago. But yeah, went through that. I went through it. I got my butt kicked, you know, and okay. I think that was probably the best thing that could have
Yeah.
happened to me. Oh yeah. Oh
It
yeah.
teaches
Because
you
you
so
know,
much.
you do. You learn about yourself. You learn what you'll tolerate, what you won't tolerate.
People want to
And
know how I. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, no, I mean, it's funny when I was writing the book, I forgot. I had forgotten about that. I mean, like obviously life happened, you know, that was like 40 years ago, right? Or 35 is
Yeah.
whatever, right? It was a long time ago. A lot had happened since, right?
Yeah.
But when you're writing, you know, or you're consciously like forcing yourself back to that. And that, you know, was conjured up in my memory.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that's been there all along. You know,
Yeah.
I found out early on in life as a little girl, right, at school, what I was made of. And
Yeah.
that's powerful. Even though I wasn't like thinking about it, you know, as I evolved and
Yeah.
grew up and became an adult and everything else like that, it was there. And then when I
And a lot
think
of
back,
times you don't know how big of a badass you are until you look back, because you're
yeah,
thinking it's not that big a deal, but other people are like, "Oh my god," and you're like, "What do you mean?"
well, you have a choice, you know, be the victim or go out there and kick ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I'm
right.
about to have surgery on my septum. I don't breathe very well, and I'm not a mouth breather, so it really sucks. And it's crooked. I mean, it's like completely the wrong way. It's not just a little off, it's that way. And he's like, what? Have you ever been punched? I've been punched in the nose one time. And that was when I was 8 years old and he was
Mhm.
35. And that's when it happened and stuff. But it taught me from that point on, I was never scared to get punched in the face
Yeah,
ever. I mean, because if you're an 8 year old, you get punched in the face by a 35-year-old, what's worse? I
yeah.
mean, but it teaches you, and people's like, oh, that's child. I'm not even worried about that. I'm not thinking about that. That was in 1988 or 87, something like that. So but it taught me where I tell people even now, I'm like, back when I used to fight, and I was the one that failed at everything except fighting. But I hated fighting. I hated violence, and I still do. But I tell people, I'm like, I don't know whether I can whoop your ass, because they'd be, everybody likes to talk crap and stuff. I'm like, I don't know whether I can whoop your ass. I just know two things. I can take a punch,
Mhm.
and you're gonna have to kill me,
Yeah.
because otherwise I'm not gonna stop. And it's because going through that resilience learning time.
Mhm. Yeah,
I think it's
exactly.
fascinating.
I feel grateful. I feel grateful. At the time you don't. You're a kid. You don't
Yeah.
have context, right?
Yeah.
But as an adult, wow, I'm so
Yeah.
glad for everything that's happened because it's made me who I am. And
Yeah.
to be able to appreciate that, to get to that point where you're in appreciation, even of the hard times, the tough times, the unfair times, whatever, right? Like you realize,
Yeah.
hey, it's all good. It made me who I am today. And that's powerful to have that. Like that's something we should all be striving towards, is
Yeah.
finding what we are
Yeah.
made of and how we can become the best version of ourselves. That's not taught, you know.
No.
Everything's spoon fed into systems that really serve institutions, right?
Yeah.
And organizations, not the individual. So I think it's powerful to be able to find that about yourself, and and also to be able to call upon that when you go through some really
Yeah.
hellacious times in life later on, even as an adult,
Yeah.
where things occur that didn't see coming,
Yeah.
and you're really being tested again. You have this like quiet confidence, regardless if you have faith or not. Although I think when you do have faith, it's even stronger, right?
Yeah.
But even if you're not a person of faith at all, and you have that, confidence in yourself that you're going to be able to get through it. You don't know how just yet. It doesn't matter. You're
Yeah.
not going to falter. You're going to get
Yeah.
through it. And that's important. And I dare say that the people that, who like we study, look up to, like who've just achieved great things in life, they've not only have failed immensely, but like they don't even realize they're doing what they're doing. And that's why it affords them the ability to take the risks that they need to take that other people wouldn't take, because,
Yeah.
they know that they're going to be able or come out ahead.
Yeah.
And that's pretty impressive. Like who doesn't want to have that, sense of self,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
like you said, things are not taught in school. We're going in the opposite direction. We're dumbing down our society,
Yeah.
and
We're
in so many ways, and it's scary. But
we were always taught that you raise the lowest person to the level of
mhm,
everybody else. You don't lower the bar to the level of the lowest person.
right.
And if they can't make it, that's on him. This tends
Mhm,
to be contradictory to a lot of religious folks, but I don't really
mhm,
give two shits. Um, I truly believe that our purpose on earth is to learn, and
mhm,
we need failure to learn. Imagine
mhm,
if you're in a heavenly place, everything's perfect.
mhm,
How can you learn anything except by studying? And as we know, studying and doing are two different
mhm,
things. I mean, you
right.
don't believe me? Just talk to a carpenter that has to deal with the architect.
Mhm,
They'll it looks good on paper, but in reality, it doesn't work.
mhm.
And so you need to be punched in the face sometimes, and
Yeah,
you
we
need that
do.
struggle. And
Mhm,
I'm grateful for the struggle, and I think it becomes easier once you understand that everything is a lesson.
mhm,
You start looking for that lesson while you're
mhm.
in the middle of the war. And when you're
Exactly.
looking for that lesson in the middle of the war doesn't seem like a war anymore. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
it sucks, but what am I supposed to learn from this? And then you're able to grow faster because you're not sitting there feeling sorry for yourself.
Mhm. Yes, I agree. We do need to learn, but I also believe we should strive to be able to get to the point we can give back in our own unique way, whatever that
Yes.
is, give back for future generations, to better, mankind or the earth, like leave something
Yeah.
behind, take the sum of our experiences in life and produce something that's going to advance or
Yeah.
improve our, humanity.
Yeah. My mantra on my podcast is I'm trying to raise the vibration of the world one
Yeah.
episode at a time. And I believe my saying about, we're here to learn. I actually say we're here for two things: learning and loving.
Hmm.
Everything you do in life will be revolved around learning or loving, and or
Hmm.
both. But I completely 100% agree. Now, before we run out of time, which we still have about 30 minutes, I think, I do want to talk about your perfume and cologne line, because that was
Hmm.
interesting to me. Because I mean, I've never seen it sold with a, looking for the right word, a passion and a purpose behind it,
Mhm.
and like it was a 5 course meal or something, like it was a
Mhm.
restaurant. It was just, it's very fascinating because the smells actually did change over
Mhm.
time, and it was very interesting. Say the name of your company again before I
Yes.
do it wrong.
Triangle fragrance.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. But anyways, that's actually how I met you, because I saw that and you're like wanting
Yeah.
me to, put cologne
Come
on me. I'm like, I don't wear
through.
cologne. I'm married. I don't need
Well,
to
not
anymore.
cologne. Well, cologne would be a disservice. Cologne is watered down.
Yeah, that's
In
right.
America, we believe cologne is for men. Cologne can be for men or women. Cologne is one of the most watered down fragrances. Right?
Yeah.
So,
Well,
where
you have to
so
spray a lot of it for it to last.
right, right. It just isn't as long lasting. It's
Yeah.
inferior, if you will.
Yeah.
So Triangle Fragrance, my company offers luxurious eau de parfum,
Yeah.
which is the second highest level concentration of fragrance oil.
You,
So long lasting and for
yeah.
men and for women.
You know,
Mhm.
I'm part redneck, so I can't pronounce that. I don't.
Eau de parfum. It's
Eau de parfum.
eau de parfum. Yep.
Excuse you, bless you.
Eau,
Um,
eau means water and parfum means perfume, of course. So,
okay.
and then
I assume
for
it's French.
yes, yes. So the French, did essentially, lead the way in this
Yeah.
industry. So we draw a lot of, um, lineage from that and terminology. So, uh,
Nice.
yeah, long lasting and luxurious. So I let people know that, and then they kind of understand they're getting a far superior quality
Yeah.
versus, a cheap cologne. So yeah, so I created this, and
Yeah.
literally, as I mentioned earlier, when I hit send or publish on the book, had no idea 2 months later I would be starting this fragrance line.
Yeah.
And Triangle Fragrance is inspired by that freedom triangle
Yeah.
that I wrote about in the book. And basically, what happened was I realized there's just so much power in this freedom triangle. How am I going to get it to people who don't read books
Yeah.
or who don't get to the end of the book? Like, I really, really believe in this freedom triangle. I want to get it out there to the masses. And that's when I realized, okay, you need a product. You need a physical product. It's going to be for men and for women, something that could eventually be available worldwide. And it's got to be powerful, luxurious, it's got to be something desirable and beautiful. And that's where I came up with the idea of Triangle Fragrance, inspired by Freedom Triangle. So, well, there are a lot of things unique about the brand. It's made in USA. It's currently still holding the title of the only 100% ingredient transparent luxury fragrance out there, which means I'm basically being as transparent as possible, disclosing
Yeah.
all of the ingredients, whereas all the other luxury scents that are out there are not, and they're not required to do so, but they choose not to. So, so that those are some technical points that set it apart. But the real value, right? The real value is they each come with a self-help card. It's a collector's card. Each scent is different. There's 6 scents. And this card ties back directly to one of the points in the Freedom Triangle. And the idea is you wake up, start your day, spray, read the card. Maybe you put it in your wallet. Maybe you put it in the bathroom mirror. Whatever serves you best. And as you recall, the scents are unique. I didn't want to do copycat scents. This had to be a unique
Yeah.
brand. And the scents had to represent the time freedom, the health freedom, and the mind freedom.
Yeah.
So everything is very deliberate and intentional with the connection between the brand, and all roads lead back to Freedom Triangle.
Yeah. It was, I mean, it was fascinating to me. I didn't know a lot about cologne or perfume or fragrances or anything that made you smell good. When people say, man, you smell good, what do you have? Deodorant. I mean, that was me. I just
Yeah.
didn't. When I was younger, I did, though. When I was dating,
Mhm.
which honestly, after going to these events, and you start realizing how important it is to actually smell good, because you smell a
Yeah.
lot of smells that are not so good. Um,
Mhm.
but it is fascinating that, well, it kind of goes back to when I got into car sales, because I learned that you can help people anywhere you are. It's not where you are that gives you the ability to help people. It's what you are,
Mhm.
and it can. I mean, just wearing the fragrance, and somebody asks you what that is, and they then start describing it and telling you everything
Mhm.
and stuff. And who knew that you get a self help out of a fragrance?
Right,
You
right.
know,
There is no other marriage like that. And one thing that's so powerful, like something you said, you can help someone else even just by doing that. Scent is so powerful.
yeah,
And there are certain scents that will take me back to Iraq, not so good scents, like
yeah,
bad smells that we were smelling that were full of toxins. But you will, like, we all have that, you can
yeah,
smell, I don't know, maybe a certain apple pie and be taken back to grandma's kitchen, you
yeah,
know, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, different thoughts and feelings towards different scents. So I serve the suggestion, and people have the ability to morph it into what they want. So a funny story, but it's true. Hold on, I'm gonna sneeze. Excuse me. Sorry about
bless you.
that. Thank
It's all
you.
right.
Yeah, it's getting cold here in Florida. That's why I have a
Florida
terrible.
getting cold. That's
Yeah, it's like
funny.
80 degrees, but it's
Yeah.
cold.
It was 106 when I left there the other day, and I come here, it's in the 50s. So,
Yeah.
and I'm in Oklahoma, where we only
Oh,
have
God.
hot and cold.
Yeah, no, I've acclimated in 3 years here. I'm like, whoa. But anyway, one of the scents I have, it's called Energy. It's marketed for men. It is the scent that women love most on men. So when a guy comes up to the booth and he's like, "What will help me get girls?" or "How can I meet a woman? Like, which scent will do it?" And I tell him right away, "Don't even look at the others. Just go with Energy," because like 9.9 out of 10 women love that scent the most on their men. And I tell them, I say, look, if you're wearing this scent and you meet the love of your life, all I ask for is a testimonial. So it hasn't happened yet. So I'm not selling enough, to increase the odds of that happening just yet,
Well,
but I know
you
it
just
will.
started, so don't be
That's
so hard
right.
on yourself.
That's right. But it's so true, because if you're putting on something, you might find it pleasing, but if it's full of toxins or, we'll call agents that irritate and cause inflammation in other people, they might like the scent, come closer to you, but then they're not going to be feeling good. Their
Yeah,
system's going to be overloaded, right? And everybody has
yeah,
different tolerances. So it's important, and, speak, industry wide, we really need to be collectively moving towards what is called clean beauty, which
yeah,
you want the transparency. And then just like Freedom Triangle has the health freedom point, which has two parts: what's in it and what's not in it, right? That
yeah,
part serves us well with our consumer goods. What are you putting in it and what are you not putting in it?
yeah,
And that's a big part of the equation. And as consumers, with our everyday goods, we need to be able to know how to analyze labels, understand, what we're consuming, putting in us, on us. It affects us, could affect our mood, could affect our well-being, but could also affect the people around us as well.
yeah. I
And
typically tell people, if you can't pronounce it, it's probably not good for you. It's
you
probably a
know,
chemical.
well, so it's interesting because they're what we call safe synthetics, like there's water, H2O, chemical
Yeah,
right there, right? So
yeah,
I wouldn't say chemical, but
yeah,
yes, if you're obviously, when it comes to food, if you're consuming food, you want to
yeah,
use real foods, strive for whole foods, of course.
yeah,
Um, so that definitely is a concern. People need to, well, they don't need to, but they should strive to understand what it is that they're purchasing,
yeah.
and how it could affect others as well.
Get rid
I
of
had
most
somebody,
diseases.
yeah, yeah, inflammation is like the root of so many diseases that we have.
Yeah,
So you clean up your environment, get rid of inflammation, you'll be, prospering and living longer, feeling better for sure.
Yeah, I have a gluten allergy, by the way, and unlike you, I'm not giving up.
Mhm.
I'm still eating the crappy food that. Well, I say
Yeah.
crappy. I don't eat fast food or anything, but I'm like, I've got to have certain like pastas. Come on, have you ever had a gluten-free pasta?
Well,
It's
no, 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 no,
disgusting.
no. See, that's what people don't understand. I will not touch anything that's like gluten-free food,
Yeah.
because what that means is they found a substitute to make up for the flavor, and it's usually
Yeah.
sugar, right? Or nasty chemicals. So I eat real food instead.
Okay.
So I'll go for steak instead,
Yeah.
or
Uh,
seafood,
uh,
eventually, or
you know
bacon.
who Dr. Mark Sherwood is, right?
No, I don't.
Well, that was your first conference, and you weren't actually able to even hear everybody. He's one of the speakers at the conference. He's here in Tulsa. He's a functional medicine doctor, but
Okay.
he was also a sergeant in the Tulsa PD for 19 years or something. But
Nice.
a very traveled person, very learned person. But I asked him about dieting and eating and stuff. He said it's basically eat anything that has been alive.
Yeah.
That's it. Just eat
Real
anything
food,
that's been alive.
not this
Yeah,
manufactured meat.
yeah, yeah,
I'm like, what?
yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, no, that's absolutely insane. And it all goes back to convenience.
Yeah,
Why have we as society turned towards those foods, right? It
yeah,
started with the Hungry Man meals, I think, in the
yeah,
70s, right? The
yeah.
TV
TV dinners. I
dinners,
remember them.
yes. And they solved a problem. Here is something that has a longer shelf life that you could cook one, two, three, as opposed to cooking, and we've gotten away from that, and look at the rate of disease
Yeah.
and the types of disease and everything else that's come as a result of it. So,
That's what people don't
um,
understand about like your fragrances. To
mhm,
get back at your fragrances, sorry, um,
mhm.
is that they don't understand the importance of the part where you say you are transparent in what's in it,
Yeah.
and other people aren't. America is one of the few countries, if not the only country, that is allowed to hide things and to
Mhm.
have things in their foods that you can't have anywhere else
Yeah.
because of how dangerous it is. And people are getting now where, like, my wife uses deodorant that doesn't have aluminum in it or something. I don't
Yes.
know,
Yes.
some kind of metal. Um,
Aluminum. Yeah.
yeah, and like me, I can't. The only deodorant I use is Old Spice, which is probably horrible for you, but it makes you smell good.
Mhm.
Um, but but it's bad for you. All of it is, and that's why
Well,
you end up sick. Is
yeah,
because of
and
when you
like
have a
we can't
fragrance.
trust the government because they allowed, I just learned this recently during, COVID pandemic in 2020 and everything,
Yeah,
that I said that right, the pandemic,
yeah,
they actually laxed the laws for labeling.
yeah,
Basically they were saying that, okay, yeah, we know you probably have a skeleton crew because we're mandating the 6 feet apart, so we're not going to be really stiff about requiring you to disclose what you had to disclose before on your labels.
yeah,
Oh my gosh. Like, so here you are buying brand X that you've used for years, and now they can, use that to their marketing advantage, but where's the integrity? Um, let the consumer make the decision. I guarantee, I mean, right now you'll see the labeling where it says made with bioengineered foods,
yeah.
Frankenfood. People will still buy and eat it. Some people just don't care, you
Well, they
know?
eat at McDonald's, so
Right, right. So, that's their choice. But for those of us that are conscious of those things, we want to know,
yeah,
and and that's important. That kind of transparency is important. So I love capitalism, but I hate the abuse in this manner,
crony
where
capitalism.
yeah, yeah. So, and that's the thing. Where if our government's allowing it, that's bad. Now there are some changes at play in the beauty industry. The FDA is stepping in with some requirements with they call it the Modernization of Cosmetics Regulation Act, and it's like the first major piece of legislation that in like 80 years, which
Yeah,
will crack down on some things. It's still being sorted out. It's been signed in,
yeah,
but that should help improve transparency. We should be striving towards the standards Europe has. They're much
yeah,
more stricter with their ingredients and what they allow and don't allow in their consumer products. So,
Yeah,
you know,
it's kind of depressing that you lose a lot of freedom in these other countries, and
mhm,
the life. I mean, people, you just go over there. I was watching YouTube videos by this British guy, or UK or whatever you want to call him, and he was like, he was talking about the comparison of like the South in America, and we smile all the time. He said you don't see people smile ever over there, and
mhm.
well, there's a reason. People aren't happy, but they are healthier. Except they don't, the government gets to decide if you get to live or die because you're too old to
Yeah,
get this. Oh, there's
but
no use healing you because you're at this age,
you have clean
but
ingredients, you know.
yeah, yeah, we'll give you clean ingredients, but we're not going to help you after a certain age.
Right,
um,
right.
and in America it's not that way. And have you ever like, you're from Jersey, right?
Yes, that's where I grew
Okay.
up. Mhm.
um, have you ever had meat that came straight from a farm that didn't have antibiotics or anything, like hamburger meat?
Not in New Jersey. When I lived in Virginia, yes, there was
There's a
a
huge difference.
mhm. Oh yeah.
Huge. People don't understand that. I mean, the difference is night and day. They don't taste like the same. Like, one
Oh
tastes like
wow.
a cow, this other tastes like, I don't know, like it's some kind of made up animal or something that's just nasty.
Well, I
Hamburger meat,
remember.
you have to add stuff to it.
Oh yeah, I remember when I started eating grass-fed, grass-finished beef. Oh my
Hmm.
goodness, the tastiest steaks
Yeah,
ever. Unbelievable. Just
yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
And it's
And I had a
expensive at
friend.
first, but it's not in the short long run. You save money because you're not as sick. You don't have to
Right.
eat as much to get full. I mean, so it's actually
Mhm.
not. That's what my eat expensive dog food, the good dog food, not the expensive Beneful or something for my dogs. I look at the
Mhm.
ingredients, and I'll
Yeah,
spend stuff that have none of that artificial. It's got real chicken in it, real
real food.
venison, stuff like that. It
Mhm.
seems expensive, but we have well, one dog right now. She had to buy some cheap dog food because they ran out of all the other stuff, some cheaper,
Mhm.
and he is like, he's got, it looks like he has mange because of all because
Wow.
his body's not used to all the chemicals and stuff in his food.
Mhm.
And it's sad. I mean, he'll start welling because pit bulls are real vocal anyway, and he starts
Yeah.
welling, and it's kind of sad, but you kind of get onto him because it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and he's welling. But that's our
Yeah.
bodies, so when you have a fragrance that has these chemicals on it,
Mhm.
they don't have to tell you. We don't know what they're in it. you know
What's in
uh,
there?
it
What's
kind
in
of
there?
reminds me of
Yeah.
Obamacare. Just find out.
Right. Like we'll
Yeah,
just wear it and figure it out
yeah,
later. So, and here's the thing, like the excuse back in the day, like 100 years ago, right? They, would be secretive about, they would call it a trade secret. How did we design this beautiful scent? Because, just like the Coca-Cola formula, whatever, they want to hold on to that. Here's the thing with technology today, anything can be reverse engineered. So that
yeah,
argument is out the window. And you see that because every famous scent that's out there now, you can find a knockoff clone.
yeah,
How did they do that? You know what I mean? So the excuse of trying to protect the trade secret, like you can't patent, fragrances and
yeah,
formulations, right? So, and I get that, but that's out the window. So you might as well be clean and transparent
yeah,
and let consumers decide.
yeah,
But again, what drives a lot of corporations are, bottom line profits. So they go overseas and, my goodness, so much of what is manufactured in China comes out of China with a lot of extra bad stuff on there.
yeah,
The lead levels in clothing, and then you have to think about the factory workers who are making them as
yeah,
well, the textiles, and how harmful it's got to be to breathe all those fumes. And, you ever order something on Amazon and you open it up and it stinks. Like
yeah,
what's in there, right?
yeah.
The grass wall that, like the grass walls that you set up in the background, you know,
Mhm.
for a display. I remember I went through 3 different iterations and they all said, no odor, no odor. Not only were they chock full of odor, I got an immediate headache, right? And I took it outdoors, washed
Yeah.
it.
All the testers had COVID, so they couldn't smell. But yeah,
Oh,
yeah, it doesn't smell like anything.
I mean, what are they putting in there? And
Yeah,
here's the thing: they're not being like checked. Maybe
yeah,
random samples that come in. So
yeah,
there were loopholes, right? And
yeah,
it's definitely a problem. So you want to buy local, buy American, whenever
yeah,
possible. Support American business, American manufacturing,
Yeah.
and demand transparency. Ask questions, you
Yeah.
know, and a company that doesn't want to answer your questions or limits the information, well, what are they hiding?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important. I think lobbyists happen to be one of our biggest downfalls, is because they yeah, do lobbyists do some lobbyists for some places, nonprofits do good, but yeah, but they convince politicians to slide things and put a little pork into every bill,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what's been our downfall. And if we'd get back to, like, your company being actually caring
Transparent.
about the
No.
consumer.
Well, and why I am so adamant about that is because when I served in Iraq, um, I brazed a lot of the burn pits. That's where we were
Yeah.
burning everything from JP8, which is fuel, to body parts, to everything in between, right?
Yeah.
So lots of bad stuff. Black, thick smoke um, came out. We've lost a lot of
Yeah.
soldiers who were like manning, those burn
Yeah.
pits to really bad cancers. It's pretty horrible.
Yeah.
So because of all those exposures, I have and still have health issues, right? From, like pretty much any vet that's been in Iraq, Afghanistan,
Yeah.
served a, minimum amount of time, has been exposed to so much. But so because of that, part of my healing journey, that I wrote about in the book was
Yeah.
cleaning up my environment. Started off with what I was eating, getting rid of the processed foods, eating clean foods, so on and so forth. But so that's why would I create a product that I can't use? It's
Yeah.
got to
Yeah.
meet my standard, which is pretty high. And same with the skincare line that I introduced this year. Really, when I developed it because I needed to solve the problems I had.
I
And
didn't know you had a skincare line too.
yeah, that just came out this year in 2023. The first three products came out in May or June. Was it June? Yeah, I think it was June. And I'm getting ready to push out the next in the collection. But it's all clean beauty, and it's a different approach. You will not find SPF in my products.
Nice.
There's a reason for that. Because I'm like that nerd that literally looks at these studies and, makes an assessment of what my standard is. So it's a
Yeah.
really high standard, you know. So that's important because then when you bring those values forward, the marketplace determines, whether they want that or not.
Yeah.
And I know when you're serving great quality and all the other features and benefits, it's a great product. And I believe that to build a true, great American brand, you need to adhere to those principles.
Yeah. I agree. I in respect to your time, because it's about that time. Um, what's a good way that everybody can get a hold of you? I'm like your to of obviously the book, the fragrances, and even your skincare line, or if they just want to reach out to you.
Sure. So my master website, if you will, is magdakhalifa.com. And there's a link on there for the book, AmericanDreamTheBook.com. And we're being attacked by buzzards right now. Additionally, trianglefragrance.com. So all the links are on there, the different social media. You could connect on social media as well. And
Nice.
yeah, I'd love to connect with anyone who I can help serve.
Awesome. Well, I definitely appreciate you. I appreciate your message, that you're not just a I'm very pro capitalism, but I'm against crony capitalism and selling things just to sell. I have a saying: we don't chase the money, we chase the message.
Mhm.
With my company and stuff, because of course that's what I'm selling, is a message. But
Yeah.
you're selling a message also. It's like you're not just buying a product; you're buying a message. You're buying a way out of the situation you're in. It's a lot cheaper than paying for a therapist, if you can do it yourself. But I appreciate it. I really do. I really wanted you on this on here because it resonated with me. Um, because it is, in essence, it's raising the vibration of everybody that comes in contact with you, your company, or your book. So I'll put all the information down low so everybody can see it and be able to contact you directly. I know a lot of podcasts don't do that for some reason, but I prefer to do it because that's why I have you on here, because I want people to contact you. So again, I
Appreciate
appreciate it. It's been a blast. Um, and yeah, I suck at goodbyes. So I'm just going to say, yeah, thank you.
it. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate you. It was so wonderful to meet you a couple weeks ago, and I'm glad we reconnected here as well. And just appreciate you greatly as a human and your contribution.
No, thank you. Hey guys, I want to personally thank everyone for liking and sharing my videos. Uh, if you want to continue to see my content, all you got to do is press that subscribe button and I'll notify you as soon as a new video comes out. I don't get paid for any of this. So if you want to buy some of my merch, like my shirts, like Jesus is a badass or my Don't Be a Dick shirt, you can easily go to my merch store, which is at sogtv.org, which I will have it in the description at every video. So push that, go buy yourself a shirt. I appreciate it. Have a blessed day, and I will see you at the next episode. Thank you.